Shalom, shalom. If you can hear me, give me a con, give me a one, give me something if I am coming through loud and clear. Shalom, we got Magawa, Tazapwan, King of the North, Magawa. I mean, strong brother in the truth too, man. So with that being said, if you can hear me, give me a con, give me a one. So let's get into it. This is the I.S.U.P.K under commanding General YAHANNA. Today's class is a history class, usually done by officer of 5,000 Karafia. I'm doing it today, but he will be doing it next week, of course. And with that being said, if you're in England, we do have a school. The address is 394 Lodge Road, postcode B18 5PW, and the school is in the city of Birmingham. And from this school, we teach classes 4 times a week. So you got the Monday class today, which is the history class. From this school, you got the Wednesday law class and the Thursday scripture breakdown class. But also on Tuesdays online, you have Officer Shamgar teaching the Brotherhood class from London, man. So I.S.U.P.K is in London too, man. Then on Friday, Tazapawan, the king of up north, he does a class that is streamed live. So that is premiered live as well. You know what I mean? So we got Manchester as well. You know what I mean? Then also Friday at 9 o'clock after the class, you then have I.S.U.P.K on the ends, which is our official podcast slash radio show. And we're working on some more special guests. So definitely keep tuned in. And you know what I mean? Definitely then on the Saturday, you have the Sabbath service. That's at 12. And in that class, we read out of the law in the Hebrew, which is called the Lashawan Kodash. Then we then we read it in the English. So am I loud enough now? Oh yeah, it's probably me, most likely. So yeah, so in the school, that's what we got going on. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. So now we're gonna get into the history class, showing you that the Bible is history. So in today's history class, it's gonna be many artifacts found on the Bible. So many what the world calls stories in the Bible. There's history to back them up, and in today's class, we're just gonna go into that, just showing and proving that what you read in the Bible is not a story, it's not just some myth. That many things in the Bible historians can prove, and of course there are some things that they can't prove. Why? Because it's a miraculous acts of the Lord, man. So don't get bent out of shape over everything, because there will be some things that you can't prove because the Lord made it happen. Absolutely, man. But the point being is, with so much of the Bible, there's clay tablets, there's manuscripts, there's so many things out there to show that the Bible is real. So if someone online may not believe in the Bible from reading it, but they're into history, then you have history also as well, man. You know what I mean? In these last days, you got Zondervan Bible dictionaries, you got so many biblical archaeology reference books. And why? Because they know that the Bible is founded in history. And many things that are spoken of in the Bible can be found in other nations' history, not because it's hijacked, it's because it happened and they wrote about it. If you could at the second one first, if you can. Also, yeah. So we're gonna get into it, and if you do have any questions online, feel free to type them in too, as well. So yeah, if you've got any questions, even if it's not relating to the class, in every class, you know what I mean, you are free to ask any questions that you would like. You know, this being a history class, it could be history, and it could also just be in general breakdown as well, man. So you know what I mean. If you got anything to write, just do let us know. But what we're gonna do first, we're gonna start in the Wikipedia, on under the Wikipedia name Bible Archaeology. Read that for me from the top.
Biblical archaeology is an academic school and a subset of biblical studies.
Uh huh.
Levantine archaeology, Bible archaeology, studies archaeological sites from the ancient Near East and especially the Holy Land.
All right. So now, why do we need to start here? Showing you that there's people out there, they are biblical archaeologists. Now, if the Bible was fake, you wouldn't need no archaeologists because there's nothing to look up. But even though in the world, people may make it seem like, the Bible's fake, man. You can't believe in that. There are people out there, it's their job to find biblical artifacts. It's their jobs to, read the biblical accounts and go to those lands, go to those ancient towns and see what they can find. Now, if the world of academics knew that the Bible was a lie, this group or these teams wouldn't even exist, man. Now, I'm not trying to religion bash, but it goes here. In the religion of Islam, do you know they don't find no artifacts? Look it up. You can look it up. What they claim is Muhammad's house, they've actually cemented over it. And like many so-called Islamic land sites, they get rid of it because they know that it's not archaeological. Those things are known by myth, but historically they're not accurate. Meanwhile, in the Bible, you got people out there in teams, and it's their dedicated job to find Bible artifacts. Why? Because they know the Bible's real, man. They know that history in the Bible is true, and that's why they get paid so much to find Bible artifacts. Read on.
Oh my God. As known as Palestine, land of Israel, and Canaan from biblical times,
Uh-huh.
biblical archaeology merged in the late 19th century.
All right. So now it's not in this Wikipedia, but you can look this up. Or matter of fact, let me see who knows online. Why did people start to research the Bible from a archaeology standpoint? Does anyone know? I'll give you 2 minutes. No, no, not playing any videos. I'll ask you one more time. So, why did people start to do archaeological research on the Bible? Just see knows a bit of history.
To try and disregard it.
Yes, that is a part of it. That is one answer, and you're right. But to that point, yeah, you are right. But that's not the answer I'm looking for. But that is the right answer, and you're right again. They tried to disprove the Bible, but then through researching, they found that, you know what, this is true. That is one answer. But why did biblical archaeology begin as a whole? Yes, some researchers tried to disprove the Bible, but then they're like, yo, like, you know what? It seems like it's true. But what is the foundation of why biblical archaeology even happened? That's good. All right, for time's sake, I'll have to give you. All right, in the early 1900s, there was a religion called evolution. And what happened was, of course, they don't believe in the Bible. So they would ask, like, the Jehovah Witness, the Christians, well, you prove to me that these biblical accounts happened. And now I want you to keep this in mind. Before the 1900s, no one historically researched the Bible. Everyone just believed it. You read it, that was it. But now, when you're dealing with someone who doesn't believe in a God, who doesn't believe in a Bible, then with the world of Christianity, they was faced with something like, yo, like, what are we gonna do? They're asking us some valid things right here. Where's the history? Where's the proof? And at that time in the 1900s, the world of Christianity wasn't ready for it, man. You know what I mean? The angle that the evolutionists came with, it was different for them because they were used to just battling in the Bible. But now, when you're dealing with a group of people that don't believe in the Bible, they believe in science and history. Listen, you can pull out any verse you want, they don't want to hear it. So then now, what did they do? That's when they began biblical archaeology. They're like, well, yo, we need to battle these evolutionists, or otherwise everyone's gonna leave the church. Now, of course, this ain't the black church, us, but among the white man, some was into Christianity, and some started to take up Darwinism and evolution. So now what was happening was in the white world, once evolution got big and it was killing them. So I mean, where's the proof? All you're bringing out is that verse in the Bible, but you show me some artifacts. And the Christian world in that time, from the late 1800s to 1900s, they wasn't ready for it. And that's when biblical archaeology began to try and keep, white people back in the church, because so many of them left. Because they were like, well, they got a valid point, really. I'm reading the Bible and there's no proof besides what I'm reading. And then that's when the oppressor, hmm? A little bit, uh, that's better, yeah, that's good. Yeah, and that's when the oppressor began what we call today biblical archaeology, because they was in a fight to keep people in the church. Meanwhile, at that time, evolution was blowing up, man. They would have debates, and the evolutionists would be killing them. Now, of course, we know evolution is a lie. We know that even in history and in archaeology, there's no proof of an evolution of a chimp to a man ever happening. But at that time, they was good enough to kill what we call today the white man's Christianity. Let's read on in the Wikipedia.
uh, by British American archaeologists with the aim to confirm the historic, sorry,
Historically,
the historicity of the Bible between the 1920s, right after World War One, when Palestine came under British rule, and in the 1960s, biblical archaeology became dominant in America.
all right. So now, why did biblical archaeology become dominant? Because in their eyes, they was in a war that they couldn't win, man. Or the evolutionists, or the Darwinists. Everyone's like, well, yo, like, at least they got some history, which of course was a lie. But with the church, they didn't have nothing. And you know what I mean? For so many thousands of years, People just read the Bible and that was that. Till now, the angle that they came with, it was different. So that's why once after World War I, when the British was able to get Palestine, which they later gave to the Israeli or the Jewish man, they saw it as an opportunity to fight against the Darwinists, to fight against the evolutionists, and go, well, yo, listen, the Bible is true. And how do we know? Because we're in the land doing the research, and look at what we are finding. Reader.
School of Levantine Archaeology, led by figures of William F. Albright and G. Ernest Wright. The work was mostly funded by churches and headed by theologians.
There you go. And now with them, the churches, they were funding it. Why? Because people was leaving the white man's church, man. You know what I mean? You can, in your own time, research it. In the 1900s, evolution was big, man. You mean even in the white man's world now, you got some white Catholics, white Methodists, but predominantly white people they don't believe in any God. Why? Because from the impact that evolution had, man. So with the churches of that time, they funded these archaeologists like, listen, find something, man. Find something that people don't leave this church, man. You know what I mean? Find something to prove some account of the Bible, some history, some war, something out there. Because why people was leaving what the world calls today Christianity. And are you good? I know, sir. You good?
Uh, from the late 1960s, biblical archaeology was influenced by the questionable archaeology, new archaeology, and faced issues that made it push aside the religious aspect of the research.
And there you go, man. So these biblical archaeologists, they had to face a reality that, listen, you got to push aside biblical research and just find something, man. Find something that goes with the Bible. So they push aside, you know what I mean? Well, the Bible says this, like, listen, does this match with any biblical account? But they wasn't doing it from a religious standpoint. They were just doing it. So for example, they left religion alone and just became a historian.
That's right.
They were like, listen, you know what I mean? Even though I believe, the Bible is true, this and that, whatever I find, I'm gonna just treat it as history. I'm not gonna be biased. I'm not gonna try and bend it and mold it to fit the Bible. I'm gonna deal with any archaeology I find simply as a historian, and that's what they did. Reader.
Oh, God. God. This has led the American schools to shift away from biblical studies and focus on archaeology of the region and its relation to the biblical text.
And there you go. So any artifacts they find, they relate it to the biblical text, meaning they're not just only just breaking down the Bible like you line this up here and there. They're like, listen, does this archaeology match something in the Bible? And that's how they dealt with it. And they had to. Why? Because so many people was leaving the churches in that time. So they were like, listen, we can't give them a Bible breakdown because they're going to be like, listen, you're using the Bible to break down the Bible.
That's right.
So what you need to do, you need to find some artifacts and show me how that relates to the biblical text, which is what real archaeology is. If something in the Bible happened and there's artifacts, you relate it to the biblical text. And that's so now that kind of way of breaking it down that we have now, this is where it originated from. Reader.
Uh, Rather than trying to prove or disprove the biblical account.
And there you go. And as well, they said in this research, we're not gonna be biased. We're not gonna try find something and make it prove the Bible. And when we find something, We're not gonna find it and try and make it disprove the Bible. These archaeologists were like, listen, we'll just be in the Holy Land and we'll find whatever we find. Reader.
The, the Hebrew Bible is the main source of information about the region of Palestine and mostly covers the Iron Age period. Therefore, archaeology can provide insights where biblical history can't.
So now, you know what I mean? I'll give you an example. In the Bible, you might read something, but it doesn't go in depth. There might be some history where it could give you some insight of, you know what I mean, more, which probably the Lord, it didn't deem it enough to go in depth. So they're saying that, you know what I mean, with what we find, you know what I mean, we'll see if it's deemed in important, or like if it can give any insight on the Bible. So another example, in the Bible, there might be a war. Now, you know, in the Bible, it might just say, you know, and with the Israelites, they won, da 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 da. But then in history, you you might find something and it lets you know more on how the Israelites won.
That's right.
They knocked down this wall, killed this leader, did, you know, one, two, three, four, five, six. And that's what they understood. That a lot of history you find, it doesn't contradict the Bible. It gives you more insight on certain accounts which the Bible doesn't go in depth on. Reader.
But the comparative study of the biblical text and archaeological discoveries help understand ancient Near Eastern people and their cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Although both the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament are taken into account, the majority of the study centers around the former.
Of the format. It's like you read it one time, it's like it. But although both Hebrew and New Testament.
Although both Hebrew and New Testament are taken into account, the majority of study centers around the former.
They so meaning they like to go to the ancient books, or mean like, you know, Deuteronomy, Genesis, etc. So they know about, you know, Mark, Luke, and John, but they want to take it back to the beginning, right, man? Let's get Psalms. Let me get that. Truth shall come out the earth. That is Psalms 85 and 11.
Psalms 85 and 11. Truth shall spring out of the earth.
And what's that, man? That is what we call today archaeology, man.
That's right.
The truth shall spring out of the earth.
That's right.
And that's what you see going on now, man. You want to know a fact, and listen, anyone online, you can look it up. The Bible is the most historical religious book, hands down. In the Bible, you'll find the Assyrian Empire, the Babylonian Empire, the Persians and the Medes, the Greeks, the Romans, all in one book, man. The Bible has had interactions with all of the major empires to exist on this earth, man. Even Egypt, man. All empires that have had an effect on this globe, they are all found in the Bible, man. Right, so let's get back to that. Oh, you got no sweat. Let's grab that one. That's excellent.
Revelation 12 and 15. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood.
All right, so now what's this talking about, man? You know what I mean? If you read Revelations 12 and 1, you know what I mean? We're not going to read it for time's sake now, but I'll summarize it. It's talking about the spirit of a Christ battling the white man, how the white man tries to suppress the spirit of Christ on this earth, man, of the truth. And it says, out of this beast's mouth came the water as a flood, man. What's that flood? Christianity, man.
That's right.
Or religion, or philosophies. So meaning the white man to stop us finding that spirit of Christ, lies come out of his mouth, man. Floods. So let's look at the analogy. If floods come out your mouth, it's not one lie, it's many, man.
That's right.
If you got floods coming out of your mouth, those are thousands of lies, man. Millions of lies. So now this beast is telling loads of lies to stop us from getting that spirit of Christ, from us putting that spirit of Christ on the earth, man. Reader.
Oh God, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood.
So imagine that now. All right, for argument's sake, you open this door right here and you open it and there's a flood. What happens? That flood washes you away. But in this case, it's not a literal flood. These floods are lies, and the white man done all these lies so that it would take us away, man. That we would believe these lies, that we would believe Jehovah's Witness, that we would believe Christianity, we would believe 7 Day Adventist, we would believe all of the floods, and he's trying to drown us with his lies, man. Reader.
Oh God, and the earth helped the woman.
Oh, there you go, man. Just like Psalms 85 and 11, the truth shall spring forth out of the earth. In Revelations, the earth helped the woman. That same earth helped us. So let me see who's thinking online. How did the earth help us against the lies of our oppressor? I'll give you a minute. I'll say it again. So, how did the earth help us from the flood of lies by our oppressor? Give a Shabbat Allah hand, man. You on point, man. Archaeology. That is it, man. So meaning they tried to give us this flood of lies, but guess what happened? Archaeology speaks otherwise, man. What does society make you believe that Jews ain't black? Or better worded, Israelites ain't black? Well, guess what? The earth says otherwise, man. The earth shows you that Jews are black. You see those relics. Jews got cane rolls, beards. You know what I mean? From the relic, you see, you know what I mean? The features that we have, whether they're big lips, big noses, these are all on the relics, man. The earth helped the woman, man. Although it's teaching lie after lie, the Jews ain't black. What's that famous one? They're Shemitic. So, yeah, but the Jews ain't black, they're Shemitic. And what does being black have to do with, you know what I mean? So what now? Being black doesn't make you from the Shemitic bloodline. Like I've never understood that. You know what I mean? Anytime we're at camp and we go where the real Jews are black, no, no, the Jews are Shemitic. Yeah, but Shemitic doesn't have a color. Shemitic is a people from Shem's bloodline. But Shemitic doesn't have a color, which doesn't make no sense. And why do people believe that? Because it's part of the flood, man. That's part of the flood of the beast, where Jews ain't black. What's the other one? They were olive skinned. Listen, I ain't seen a green man walking God's green earth yet, man.
But according to modern definition, she may be a man that she may be anti-Semite. Anti-Semite is someone that hates people that we have definition. And those people, you can't, according to their definition, you can't be Order
Yiddish.
Arabic first, of course.
There you go. No, and that's a heavy point, man. So even an anti-Shemitic term, it's talking about the language. And again, they don't speak the Lashawan Kodash, the Hebrew anyway. So it definitely wouldn't apply to them. But again, you know what I mean? Everyone would rather believe someone else is the Jew except you, black man. Everyone else could accept someone looking like them being a Jew, but you, nah, man. And that's why the dragon puts all these floods out there. Read on.
So, and the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth.
And there you go, man. The earth swallowed up the flood. Now, what's the analogy? You put water on the ground, what happens? The dirt swallows it up in it. But this is the analogy that the Lord is using, that the dragon, he put floods of water and the earth just soaked it all up, man. Meaning what? As much lies as they have out there, you can't hide who the real children of Israel are, man. You can't, you can tell all the lies you like, but you can't hide who the true Jews are. And that's how the earth swallowed up that flood, man. It absorbed all that water. Why?
That's right.
Why? Because you can't beat the truth, man. You can't beat the facts. The facts are water resistant, man.
That's right.
And and our oppressor just don't get that, man. Any more than that? That was it. No sweat. Back in that biblical archaeology, get a section. All right. In the section summary of important archaeological sites.
Selected discoveries, detailed lists of objects can be found at the following pages. List of artifacts in biblical archaeology, list of burial places of biblical figures.
There. So now archaeologists look at all what they found. So how could someone tell you that the Bible's a lie when I mean archaeologists keep finding something? And I'll give you a fact which you can look up in Jerusalem or in the land of Israel right now. If you was to knock down a house, you couldn't even build a new house immediately. Do you know what would happen? With the archaeologists, they would have to excavate that place first, man. Because you might be demolishing the site. You might be making a house over some potential biblical history. So they wouldn't even make you demolish your house and immediately build a new house. They go, well, what? 1 second. Let's dig. Let's dig deep first. Let's see what we can find. And if they don't find anything, then you can build that house, man. That's how historical the land is with biblical artifacts. Now in a Mecca, it's not so, man. You want to know facts, and you can research it up. In a Mecca, they ain't found not one Islamic artifact. Everything that they say is what it is. It is speculation, man. Muhammad's wife house, speculation, and some other ones, speculation, man. Whereas in the Bible, you will find tablets, man. You will find artifacts that show, yes, man, this proves the accounts found in the Bible you read today. Read on.
The list of biblical manuscripts, list of New Testament papyri, and list of New Testament unicos. The biblical figures identified in extra biblical sources.
Now, if you can, the picture on the right, you can screenshot that and show them that's the Qumran cave. And why is that important? Right there. There you go. So that picture right there, I don't know if any of you know, but that is the Qumran cave right there. Now, of course, there's many caves in that region by the Dead Sea. But why is the Qumran cave so fundamental? Again, let's take it back to the 1900s. Evolutionists had another argument. And what was the argument? You got to prove that the Bible you're reading today is the same as the Bible back then. And of course, biblical archaeology did not begin. So of course, you had no evidence till they found the Qumran caves in 1950s, if I'm correct. 1950s, and these have all of the books of the Bible that we got today, man. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Isaiah, every a chapter to the last verse, Haggai, and also New Testament books as well, man. So now the Dead Sea Scrolls, when you research it, it was the Essenes before the Romans come to destroy us as a nation. They hid it in the caves and they tried to run to Jerusalem, but they died along the way by the Romans. But though they hid it, so these manuscripts they are a few thousand years old, man, or they're on the way there. So those scrolls prove that the Bible we read today is the same as the Bible that was there thousands of years ago. Absolutely yes. It's called the Dead Sea Scrolls because the Qumran caves are in the region called the Dead Sea, and it's called the Dead Sea. Does anyone know why? Think of an account in the Bible where the Lord sent fire and brimstone. No, not the dead Egyptians. Tazarquan's got it right. Yes, it is Sir Adam and Gomorrah. It's called the Dead Sea because all of those meteorites, it's made that region dead, man. Nothing grows there. The water is horrible from all the meteorites. That's why it's called the Dead Sea because that water over there is dead from what happened in Sir Adam and Gomorrah.
That's right.
You can look it up. Look on an ancient biblical map. Sir Adam and Gomorrah is where the Dead Sea is and the Qumran caves. It's called the Dead Sea because the sea is horrible. It's what I mean. You wouldn't drink out of that. You wouldn't do nothing with it. That's why it's dead. You know what I mean? So now in that same Dead Sea, in some caves, Essenes hid manuscripts of Genesis. I mean, and matter of fact, all the books of the Bible that we read today, and that prove that the Bible we read today is identical with the Bible 2,000 years ago, man. Now the Dead Sea Scrolls, that's the oldest you can get, and it matches the Bible that we read today, showing you that nothing's been tampered with, nothing's been changed. Why? Because you have a older a version of the text, and it is identical with what we read today, man. Let's get back to it.
Objects with unknown or disproved biblical origins.
So now I gotta give you the flip side. Every piece of biblical archaeology, some people have tried to bend it and make it seem like yes, we found this. So don't just go with anything that they find because some of them are known to be forgeries. So be mindful of that too, reader.
Biblical archaeology has also been the target of several celebrated forgeries which have been perpetrated for a variety of reasons.
So now, why do they do this? Why? Because if it's your job to find artifacts and you lie and say, I've found this and that, you're going to get rich. And then what happens? You take it to like a gallery or a museum, and then what? You get paid lots of money for the return of it. So yes, some people have actually forged artifacts for like a get rich scheme. Absolutely, reader.
Uh, One of the most celebrated is that of James Ossory. When information came to light in 2002 regarding the discovery of an ossuary with an inscription that was translated to Jacob, son of Joseph, the brother of Jesus. In reality, the artifact had been discovered 20 years before, after which it had exchanged hands a number of times and the inscription had been added.
There you go. So again, you know what I mean? If you are researching biblical archaeology, there are approved historians. Some have lied. And that's why don't jump on the bandwagon of everything because, you know what I mean? All it takes is someone just to dig deep and go, nah, that one there is a known forgery. That one there is known that, who found that? It was a lie. Reader.
Uh, this was discovered because it did not correspond to the pattern of the epoch which is dated. The object in the following list generally come from private collections and were often purchased in antique markets. Their authenticity is highly controversial.
All right. So now this is why people make fakes. They make fakes because they can get rich. As you said, they sell them in the markets. So on the black market, there's someone that's like, yo, that's a biblical artifact. I'll give you hundreds of grands, thousands, even a millions, and they know, yo, like they can get rich. So what some of them do is they go, I've found this, and it's their get rich scheme where they can, generate millions fast. And it's like, comment 1 6. So yeah, just where I was, and that's what they do. They, what I mean, they'll pretend like they've found something which is a fake, and then they'll get rich off it, selling it on the markets. Reader.
And in some cases, they have been proved to be fakes.
Uh-huh.
The Ark of the Covenant, there have been a number of claims regarding the Ark's current location. Ethiopian Church claims it holds the Ark in Acts of Ethiopia. Local tradition claims that it was brought to Ethiopia by Menelik the first with divine assistance, while a forgery was left in the temple in Jerusalem.
All right. So now, you know what I mean? I'm not going to read through all of these fakes, but the famous one is what? The Ark of the Covenant. You know, so many of us, our parents come from a Rastafarian background. And what do so many of them believe? That the Ethiopians got the Ark of the Covenant. They've read the Kebra Negast, where allegedly, King Sir Alaman, his son Amenelik, he took it to Ethiopia with him. And you know what I mean? And so many people believe that, and they know that it's fake. That is a forgery. The Ark is not in Ethiopia. What I would like some of you to do in your own time on YouTube, there is a documentary, and it's a white British man. He goes to Ethiopia and is asking about the Ark, and they keep messing about. Wanna go? It's over here. Wanna go? It's in this ancient Ethiopian Catholic church. He goes there like, no, it's not there. Then afterwards, one guy goes, yeah, among all these hills, we've hit it somewhere there, and they mess around with him so much that at the end of the hour documentary, he's like, listen, the Ethiopians ain't got the Ark of the Covenant. Even this oppressor, he knew, listen, they don't have it. They just pretended like they do. It's a myth that they've been told, and they just convince themselves that yeah, it is somewhere. You know what I mean? Um, what's that? Oh no, no, sorry. All right. I sent you the second one. So now let's get into some biblical artifacts and some biblical history. Yeah, was it? Yes, yes, yes. In Second Maccabees. So now, according to the Bible, we will show you where the Ark of the Covenant is, or where it is around. It's a better term. It's in the early chapters. Yeah, that makes sense.
Second Maccabees 2 and 2. It is also found in the records that Jeremy the prophet commanded them that were carried away to take of the fire as it has been signified.
Hmm. So now, with the fire, does anyone know about the fire? It's in the law, meaning there's in the law there's a fire that the priests have, and that fire cannot go out. You know what I mean? You find it in Exodus and in Leviticus. There's one fire the priests have, and that fire cannot be outed. You know what I mean? And that is in the law. So what happened was when the Babylonians were about to come, the prophet Jeremiah, he took that fire. Why? Because the Lord commanded the priest that that fire cannot be put out. So he took that fire. Why? To keep the law of the Lord. But there's precepts to go about the fire that they can't out, something like
Verse 5. And when Jeremy came thither, he found a hollow cave wherein he laid the tabernacle and the ark and the altar of incense, and so stopped the door.
So now he found a place, a hollow cave, meaning it's a cave, but it's got an hole in it so you can go in. It's not a full rock. It's a rock, but there's an entrance in it. And he went in and he brought the ark and the tabernacle, and he stopped the door, meaning what? He put something in front of the entrance, man. Reader.
God. And some of those that followed him came to mark the way, but they could not find it.
So now he didn't do it alone. He came with other people too, but they tried to mark the way, but they couldn't find it. Why? Because that is spiritual intervention, man. That's the Lord that doesn't want no one to find it. So some men, as they're walking with him, trying to be his best friend there, dropping a little something here, a little something there, but it didn't work. It still wasn't enough to find out where he hid the ark and the tabernacle. The reader.
Which, which when Jeremy perceived, he blamed them, saying, as for that place, it shall be unknown unto the time that God gather his people together and receive them unto mercy.
There, so meaning he caught on to people trying to, leave some markers around, and he perceived it like he understood what they were doing, and he let them know, listen, you're not gonna find it anyway, man. You wanna know why? Because the only time we're gonna see this is when the Lord brings the real Jews back, man. When the real Israelites come back, that's when we will see the ark. That's when we will see that tabernacle. Reader.
Then shall the Lord show these things, and the glory of the Lord shall appear, and the cloud also, as it was showed unto Moses, and as when Solomon desired that the place might be honorably sanctified.
So meaning when we see this ark, you're gonna see UFOs, lights, chariots. You're gonna see all of that. So no one doesn't have the ark. Anyone that claims the gully, it is a forgery, it is a lie, man. As I say, watch that documentary, and at the end of it, the man he comes to terms that listen, I'm never gonna find it. They don't have it. They just pretend like they do. He goes, no, no one has it. All where they say is he went to all those places and it wasn't there, man. You know what I mean the prophet Jeremiah hid the ark? Any more on that? The ark. And also, you can go into the second article I sent you.
Why are some of historical and scientific facts that back up the Bible?
Mhm.
What are some of the historical facts that back up Christianity? What are some of the scientific facts that back up Christianity?
There. So now this is another writer right here, and what they all figure out is that history does back up the Bible. Why? Because these things happened. You know what I mean? If the Bible was a book of myths and just inspiring words, then there wouldn't be no history. There wouldn't be no artifacts. There wouldn't be nothing that affirms the Bible. Like, yes, this happened. You find it because it did happen. Those wars in the Bible happened. You know what I mean? Or anything in the Bible, it happened. That's why there is record of it. Reader.
There are many facts that support Christianity: historical, archaeological, scientific, and prophetic. The most significant facts are historical and prophetic.
Uh-huh.
The Bible records a lot of ancient history, a few scientific facts, and many prophecies.
And imagine that, man. So meaning even historians know that many prophecies in the Bible, according to their understanding, happen. And what are some that you find in the Bible? That the Babylonian Empire would fall to the Persians and the Medes. The Greeks would conquer the Persians and the Medes, and the Greeks would conquer the Persians and the Medes, and the Romans would conquer the Greeks. That's a prophecy right there, and it happened just like that. And even writers know that even the prophecies in the Bible, their history. Why? Because when a prophecy happens in past tense, what does it become? History. Reader.
History shows that the Bible is accurate when it speaks about historical facts. Jesus was a historical person.
What did he say?
Jesus was a historical person.
And let me tell you something. I ain't got the book on me now, but there are Roman books out there, Roman records, and they admit that there was a man called a Jesus, and they crucified him. And many people said that he was the king of the Jews. That is a fact. That is in Roman literature. But they speak about a man that we crucified him, and you mean, of course, they don't believe, but they're like, allegedly, this man was, some Messiah-like figure, the king of the Jews. That is in Roman records. You know what I mean? I'll bring the book next time. You know what I mean? There's a few of them. So even they know that, yes, Jesus is historical. There was a man claiming to be the Messiah who did miraculous acts, and people wrote about it. And that's not even biblical. What I'm saying here is all historical, and even they know and they understand that. You know what I mean? So even the whole, well, Jesus didn't exist. Listen, real historians know he did, man. Real historians know there was a man called Jesus who people called him the king of the Jews. They didn't see any miracles he did, but they know from what the Jews said that this man done miracles. Reader.
While the Bible has a smaller number of scientific facts, it has tremendous numbers of prophetic facts in order to demonstrate its supernatural authorship by God.
And imagine that, man. You know what I mean? This is a historian, and even he knows that. Listen, God's in this book, man. This author knows that. Listen, God is in this book. No one couldn't prophesy that at that time, and it happened, man. Which of course, once it happens, it becomes history, and even they know that, man. Our oppressor, he knows the power of the Bible to some degree. The problem is we need to believe it, man. Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, we need to believe it. Our oppressor knows how historical the Bible is. Our oppressor knows that the Bible is a prophetic book and it comes to pass. But guess what? We need to know who we are and start believing it too, man. Reader.
Prophecy is the real text of the Bible. These are statements made 100 to 4,000 years before the events really occurred.
There you go. So now, of course, if any of you online have read the Bible, prophecy is a big thing. You know what I mean? Even the men of God, what was they called? The prophets of God, man. So of course, you know, a prophet needs to prophesy something before it happens, and that's how you know if a prophet is sent from God or not, man. Let's get that in the book of Deuteronomy 18 about a prophet. So 18 and 20, I believe.
Deuteronomy 18 and 20. But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, that prophet, even that prophet shall die.
So in verse 20, what are we understanding? That if a prophet shall presume to speak a word in my name, what is the name of the Lord? Meaning, you are saying, the Lord told me that this will happen. to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, man. So so now, you may have someone going, nah, I don't follow your God, but the God I believe in, he or she, because they believe in female gods too. They told me this. Even that prophet shall die. So meaning, among us, being a prophet was such a big thing that if you even spoke in the name of the Lord and you was wrong, that was a death penalty, man. Meaning, we was a people so nigh to the Lord that we believed in our prophets that much that a prophet, you know what I mean, his sentence was death, man. It couldn't just say, "Oh, guys, I was wrong." That was punishable by death. Why? Because we looked up to our prophets so much that, you know what I mean. The Lord's like, listen, if anyone says something in my name and it doesn't come to pass, that person has to die. Why? Because with the culture of the Israelites, we trusted our prophets. We looked up to them that much that, if someone was a false prophet, that was punishable by death. Verse 21. And if thou say in thine heart, how shall we know the word which the Lord have not spoken? So he's asking a question. So if we say in our mind, well, how do we know if the Lord said this or not? Let's read verse 22. When a prophet speaketh in the name of the Lord, if the thing follow not, nor come to pass, that is the thing which the Lord have not spoken. So there you go. So meaning, if you want to know if it come from the Lord, if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't come from the Lord, man.
That's right.
Now, why is this in the Bible? Would anyone like to have a shot? Why is, you know what I mean, if a prophet is from the Lord or not, found so many times in the Bible? Anyone got anything? No, what I mean, why is, false prophets word come from the Lord? Why is this concept found in the Bible so much? That's true because of false prophets. But what did it say about the culture of the Israelites? All right, for time's sake, I have to give it to you. You almost just shy of half an hour left. Because in the culture of the Israelites, they believed in the word of the prophet that much, man. That's why it's all throughout the Bible. Don't listen to this prophet, false prophet. It didn't come to pass. Because with the prophets we had, we looked up to them, man. We took every single word they said as it came from the Lord. So that's why the Lord is always telling us, listen, beware of them, they're false. If it comes not to pass, because that was the culture of the Israelites. We trusted the prophets we had, man. It's like today, you know what I mean? Everyone watches the a news, ITV news, Channel 4 news to know what is happening. Well, imagine we went to a man of God to find out all of those things. That was the culture that we had. And you know what I mean? That's why it's in the Bible so much about false prophets. because we looked up to the men of the Lord that much that the Lord didn't want us getting swayed away, man. Reading on in 22, but the prophet have spoken it presumptuously. Thou shalt not be afraid of him. Showing what about the Israelite culture that we have? We was afraid of the prophets of the Lord. Why? Because we knew that the Lord was with them, man. And now the Bible saying, don't be afraid of this man, because he speaks presumptuously. Does anyone know what the word presumptuously means? You can look it up in a dictionary what the word presumptuous means. Hmm? All right. For time's sake again, presumptuously means as you feel or as you like. So meaning this false prophet right here, what he's telling you is not from the Lord. It's from his mind. It's from what he believes or what he's predicting. But is it from the Lord? Absolutely not, man. That person is presumptuous, meaning what they're doing is how they feel. It's what it's what they think, but it's not from the mouth of the Lord. You know what I mean? So can get back into the article.
Historical facts. Jesus Christ was a historical person about whom many ancient authors wrote. A large number of historical and prophetic facts about Jesus can be found on the Bible. The Bible shows that Jesus Christ said he was God. Listen to what Jewish leaders say of Jesus. Understood him say, the Jews answered him, for a good word we do not stone you, but for blasphemy, because you being a man make yourself out to be God.
So now in history, this is what they get that a man called Jesus did exist, and they stoned him, and it's in the Bible. You know what I mean? He never said he was God, but you know what I mean? He's like, listen, you know what I mean? The Lord is with me, and you know what I mean? Of course, so many Jews mistook that for blasphemy. Like, nah, he's saying that God's with him. What's up? You know what I mean? And like he got stoned. So that's in history. Where is it? The Jewish leaders thought he was just a man, but not his followers. The second, like, this that blue strip, the one down there.
I stand to this day, testifying both small and great, starting nothing but what the prophets of Moses said.
Oh, Slakia. Yeah, that's from Acts 26 and 22. If you could scroll down, Baba Kushar. All right. So now let's get into some historical, archaeological facts. Yeah, let's read that.
One very interesting area of historical facts about Christianity is the area of archaeology in the Old Testament. Here are two examples.
So now in this article here, the man just gives you two examples, and let's see what they are. Reader.
Example one, prior to 1853, there was some who did not believe that the nation of Israel crossed the Red Sea, as mentioned in the Old Testament, Exodus 14 and 13 to 31.
All right. So now in 1853, again, you know what I mean? Around these times, evolution and, the unbelief of a God started to come in. And just to let you know, evolution or Charles Darwin, he's a famous man of evolution. but people did believe in it prior to him. There was always philosophers around that said, God is a concept in your mind, and their goal was to disprove the Bible. So in 1853, you had people that did not believe in the crossing of the Red Sea. In the book of Exodus, that's a miraculous event, man. But you had some people, because they don't believe in the power of God, they had a physical explanation. Reader.
They claim the Israelites really walked across ankle deep water.
So now their view was, nah, the Bible's exaggerating it. Even till this day, what do some people say? When the Red Sea dries up, there's like a walkway. Now, in the Bible, that doesn't make sense because the Bible clearly lets you know that they saw water on either side. So if the water was to dry up and there's a walkway, that's not describing what the Bible's saying, man. That's clearly a flaw in their understanding, reader.
These are problems with this view. The people are very obvious. How did Egyptian army drown in ankle deep water?
And that's common sense. It's water with just some ankle deep water, and with the both sides, it's not literal. Then how did the Egyptians die in the water? How did the Egyptians drown in the Red Sea? If it was just ankle deep water, it wouldn't make sense. Those chariots would just ride through that water. Reader.
The second problem is that the absence of an archaeological record does not mean the event did not occur.
And also, this is another thing. Of course, we know in the Bible that God does miracles as well. So, are you gonna archaeologically find everything? No. But let's read on. Yeah. So that doesn't even make sense. And of course, if someone doesn't believe in the power of God, then I mean, they just totally exclude it. Reader.
You would be saying 1,000 years from now that I did not go to a particular restaurant for dinner because there was no record.
And for people that don't believe in the Bible, that is what they like to say, but there's no record of it. Well, some things you gotta be alive in that time. It's like, as he said, 1,000 years from now, would people probably remember Nando's? No. But one day, there might be a book about you, and you went to Nando's and go, nah, that place don't exist. Well, it did in his lifetime, just that as years went on, there's no record of it. It does not mean that it hasn't happened, reader.
What is worse, in 1853, Dr. P. Stanley recorded six ancient Aramaic inscriptions on the cliff of a Wadi Sidri
Uh-huh.
in the peninsula of Sinai. The inscriptions were recorded the historical crossing of the Red Sea. Here is an excerpt from the Aramaic inscriptions A.T. Stanley.
So now what happened was, in the region of the Red Sea, where's it? The Wadi Idri Peninsula. They found these Aramaic inscriptions. Now, if you don't know, Aramaic is ancient Hebrew. What we write on the Lashawan Kodash class every Friday, that is Aramaic. So you got the Ah, Ba, Gada. So on the on on some rocks, they found some inscriptions, and this man, what's his name? Um, anyway, his name is Doctor P.H. Stanley. He wrote them down and he deciphered them. It took him back, and let's find out what this inscription says.
The sea that divided part of the sea, its waves roaring, the people enter and pass through the middle of the waters.
And imagine that, man. Just like the biblical crossing of the Red Sea, they found it in ancient Hebrew, not in Arabic, not in some other language. Give it an account to us passing the Red Sea. And you know what I mean? No one 100% knows when it was written there. But what they do know is from the ancient writing, it's around that time. Or you know what I mean? Someone crossed the Red Sea, then writ it on the rock. Or years later, you know, one of us we visited there and to, you know what I mean, as like a a memory, they writ it there. But the point being is no one writes that for a myth, man. No one walks there and writes it on the rock if it never happened. Read on.
The wind blowing, the sea dividing into parts, they pass over. The Hebrews flee through the sea turned into dry land.
Hmm.
The enemies weep, for the dead and virgins are wailing. The sea flowing down overwhelmed them. The waters were let loose to flow again.
Just like Exodus, man. Just like what you read in the book of Exodus. And as I said before, archaeologists, they're not biased. They just go by what they see. And if it relates to the Bible, they don't get into Bible breakdowns. They see it as, listen, we found this, it's saying this. Does this match with something in the Bible? And that's how they deal with things. They're not, you know what I mean, Bible scholars. They can't break down revelations. But what they do is just basically just go over what's out there and you know what I mean, like if it matches with the Bible. So now, for time's sake, let me get some artifacts up there quickly. All right. So now, what we're going to do, we're going to show some artifacts showing you Bible history. So the first one is called the Statue of Idrami. I'll spell Idrami for you. Idrami, the statue of Idrami. So now, why is this key? Because again, in the 1900s, no one believed in a land of a Canaan. Matter of fact, they even didn't believe in Canaanites. So again, people use that as a weapon. They were like, well, listen, man, the Bible talks about Canaanites. Ain't no record of Canaanites existing. Now, on this man's statue, he talks about the land of Canaan, which debunked it. People are like, well, yo, like, you're saying the Canaanites don't exist. So why is this man Idrimi in on the writing on his statue? Why is he talking about the land of Canaan if it didn't exist, man? It shows you that the Bible is true when it speaks about Canaanites. When it speaks about the Canaanites had a land, that is biblical, and that history of that king statue, it confirms it. So, okay, did you screen share the statue? And I'm just fly through some of these in the last 15 minutes. Yeah, so now on his statue, there's some writing on the back of it, and it lets you know about Canaanites, showing you that Canaanites did exist. So that's one. You get another one. Lucky, bear me 1 second. All right, this one's called the Isha said the LA M what's it? MESHA ST. So now, why is this one key, man? As you can see, the Hebrew on it, but this one's key, and why? Because we had a war with the Moabites, and it's in the Bible, and this ain't the Israelites writing this. This is from the Moabites, and also that with that a king Amisha, he's in the Bible. That same king you read about in the book of Kings, this is his delay right here, and he's talking about the wars he had with the Israelites. So even this one shows you that Israelites existed. Because what happens, you got people out there saying, Israelites did not exist. Israelites are a myth. There's no history of them. Though this is an outside source. This stele is from a king that was at war with the Israelites, and he is proving that Israelites did exist, and the wars that they had with us. It was a Moabite king, yet Misha, yet over the house of Omri, and you find Omri in the king's list in the Bible as well. You know what I mean? So that's another thing that you cannot deny. Let's get another one. All right, let's get. Well, this one's a bit of a tongue twister. It's the Kirk, a monolith. I'll spell that for you. It is Kurkh, and then the monoliths MON. This is another one, man. And why is this one key? Because this one mentions the Israelites with the Assyrians. They had us, and it mentions us as Israelites in his tablet. So this is an Assyrian king right here. So there's so many facts that prove the Bible that no one can deny. I'll just read a quick breakdown of it. The Shalamananda third, a monolith. Now, for those of you that don't know, Shalamananda was a popular Assyrian name, Shalamananda. So in the Bible, sometimes when you see the name Shalamananda, it's not always talking about the same one. Sometimes his son is Shalamananda the third, the second, the fourth. So be mindful of that. And let's see what it has. Contains a description of the Battle of Kwakwa at the end. The description contains the name Ahabu Selah, which is generally accepted to be Ahab, king of Israel. So even archaeologists know that. Listen, the Assyrians speak about King Ahab. I remember this is a this is a man that believed in pagan gods. He didn't follow the God of Israel. He was a pagan, but he's speaking about his interactions with the Israelites of wars he had. And of course, in Second Kings, what I mean, we got deported out of the land. But the point being is, they write about us, showing you that we existed, man. If Israelites didn't exist, then there is nothing to write about. You can't write about the invisible nation. It shows you that we existed. Let's get another one called Black Obelisk of Shalimananzar the Third. Obelisk, OBELISK. Yeah, Black Obelisk of Shalimananzar the Third. Yes, we can screen share that as well. And again, and believe me, we will be here all day. If so, now I'll just break down in general what it means. So it goes contains what is thought to be the earliest known a picture of a biblical figure, possibly Jehu, son of Omri, and or Jehu's ambassador kneeling at the feet of Shalmaneser the third. So on that on that obelisk right there, you might not be able to see in that picture, but when looked at and examined more, you see a man on his hands and knees, and you'll see the Assyrian a king with a light above him, and that is said to be Omri, man, the king of Israel at that time. Why? Because the Assyrians beat them in war, and he came to pay his respects and his tribute, and you see him on his knees. So now, again, this is biblical history, and the Bible says that too. The Bible confirms it, and even this Assyrian king, he confirms it too. That listen, man, I had him on his hands and feet, man. So you got to be very mindful that the Bible is real history. The Bible ain't just some myth. Get me. It's called the Atel Dan Adele. It's TEL Gas Dan, yeah, Stella. And this is another one you find. And why do you need this one? Because so many people believe that King David didn't exist. And in this Sedella right here, it mentions the house of David, man. Showing you that what? If King David is real, then all those kings you read about in the Bible that come from David's line, they're real too, man. So I'll break it down. It's significant for the biblical version of Israel's past, particularly in the lines 8 and 9, which mention a king of Israel and a house of David, man. So when they decipher the writing, then they found out that guess what? They mention a house of David, man. We show me what King David is real, man. King David did exist, or these people wouldn't write about the house of David. If King David was a myth and King Sir Solomon, etc., then there wouldn't be nothing to write about. But they even mention the house of David, showing you what that the Bible is real, man. All these what we call today characters, these I don't like to use the word characters, but these men and women are real, man. Another one. I got way too much, but don't want to be here. Right. Get the Lakish relief. I'll spell it for you. Lakish. And again, this is another monument. So it goes, it's a portion of the Sennacherib relief, which depicts captives from Judah being led into captivity after the siege of Lachish. And you know what's funny with this relief? They got braids. They got beards, and you can clearly see that these men, you know what I mean, they're black. You know what I mean? So like these relics that you find, as the Bible said, the earth helped the woman, meaning you see these things and you know, yo, the Bible is real, man. And when you look at biblical archaeology, the Jews clearly look black, man. Even the hairstyles we got today, they're all in archaeology, the braids, the beards, you know what I mean? All it, even up to the cane rolls, man, all the way to the back. There's loads of reliefs where you cannot get a so-called Israeli out of it. You can't get those relics and reliefs and see that and go, yes, that matches the Israeli. It does not, and that's why so many Israelis don't like biblical history like that. When you buy a Israeli history book, it's all of the a modern history from the Khazarian Empire, but they never show you ancient history. I mean, if you get a chance and you speak to a Israeli, asking for biblical history, and it gives you things from 1000 AD and upwards, but they never go to the Old Testament times, because those relics, those reliefs, they show black people, man. They don't. I mean, I've got some of their books, and they never go into ancient history. They never go into the time of David and show you what they found. You can read about it, but they never like to show you images, because those images don't fit them, man. Those images and those clay tablets and the depictions of the Israelites don't look like them, and that's why they don't show you. They will show you a modern Jewish history from like 500 years, probably 1,000 at the least. But when you're talking about Israelites that were alive in the what in what historians call the Iron Age, they don't like to get into that, man. When you talk about the Maccabees and what they found, they don't like to show you that, man. When you talk about, all of that history and the things they find, they don't like to really dig deep in those areas right there. Second. All right, let me. Good. Let's. All right. Give me the last one. It's called the a temple warning inscription. So now this one is more in the New Testament now. Again, some people don't believe Jesus Christ existed. Some people don't believe that even the Herodians existed. And this is what you call the temple warning inscription. And I'll break it down. Believed to be an inscription from Herod, a temple warning for foreigners, allogein in the Greek, to refrain from entering the a temple. There, so like obviously with the priests, anyone couldn't go into the temple of the Lord. And with Herod, him trying to, act like one of us, he put a warning there, and historically they found that too, man. So that's the class. I'm gonna hand it over to priest and officer of 5,000 corruption.
Ready to teach what to do. Beneficial and my name. And my